Adam, we're live.
I know. It was a little quick. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Losers Lounge.
Don't want to be here.
No, I'm surprised at how down. Like, I got people on my bench. Everybody's so down. Nuggets just won 5 in a row.
Yeah.
I know. Like, it's like...
It doesn't matter. This is what sports are.
It is what sports are. You're like, oh, my God, do we suck?
Yeah.
Are we terrible, guys? Oh, my God, the Nuggets a bad team? Do we need to trade everybody?
I do have to let off real quick the funniest reply I got in my mentions tonight. It was that the Nuggets are crazy for not playing Marcus Howard with the second unit.
Oh, man. That's what it is,
That was
huh?
my best one tonight.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to get into it. There are, I think, a couple very interesting things to get into in this one. It's a loss. I'm not all that surprised about it, but there's some interesting things to kind of just ask and explore. Unfortunately, I got my homies here with me. I got Harrison Wind.
Minnesota is now 26-25. They must just suck against everybody else. They look like the 96 Bulls against the Nuggets.
I know, and that's going to be one of our questions. Is there something to that, or is it just they had 2 hot shooting nights? I don't know. Over here, I got D-Line.
Man, that sucked. That sucked.
It was a rough one. Over here, I got Dev.
You win some, you lose some. That Timberwolves team, they're really, really, really good against Denver.
In Denver
Against
alone.
Denver.
They really shoot the ball well, man, and they do. And that kind of brings us to our top story tonight, in my opinion, our top story, which is, Nuggets go down 130 to 115. It actually wasn't that close. There's 2 things that I think are very important here. One, and I want to save it for later, but I'm going to set the table with it now. The second unit. Facu's the problem, guys. You got to get him out of the line. Everything's solved if you do that. Tonight, that second unit looked exactly like what we saw before the switch was made, so it's kind of like maybe it's not a total fix now. We can't, as I've been trying to say, we can't pin everything on one guy. That second unit looked exactly as horrible. But I actually think that when the starters came back in, they were getting murdered as well, and it just the wheels came off. We've seen this story before with this team. But I actually think that there is something to Minnesota's style of play. And tell me if this feels like a hot take to you. I mean, I'm very curious. I'm very interested that Chris Finch was here during the Kenneth Faried stint, that he coached with a dunker spot offensive rebounding monster in Kenneth Faried, and that he goes to Minnesota and has Jared Vanderbilt, a former Nuggets player, who that's his forte. When he was taken in the second round, the thing that stood out about him was he grabbed I don't remember what the number was. It was absurd. It was 21 rebounds per 36 minutes in college.
He had one of the best rebounding rates in the history of college basketball.
Yeah, it was his skill set. He just has a nose for the ball for his size, very mobile, so switchable on defense, got good hand-eye coordination. Even though he can't shoot, he's got really good hand-eye coordination, good body control, and then, of course, he just works that baseline. And they've actually found something. If you actually look at the best 5-man lineups in all of the NBA, their starting lineup is right there at the top, along with all of the best ones. Now they're missing D'Angelo Russell. But tonight, and I think in the last game too, it stood out. One of the things, Denver obviously defensively has its shortcomings, its weaknesses. But most teams play with a big on the block, or they play some kind of 5-out or this or that. This is a bit old school. When I mean old school, I mean 2015-16, and that they play a player in the dunker spot at all times, Jared Vanderbilt, and he's so good at it. And I think it actually is a real problem. I think Denver struggles against that in large part because I think most teams would struggle against this style of offense.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, these last 2 games that the Nuggets and Timberwolves have played, Minnesota's blown Denver out in each one. They hit 23 threes when they beat Denver in Denver back in December. They hit 19 tonight. And the Timberwolves just have the Nuggets on their heels for the entire game, I feel like, especially when the momentum flipped when the bench unit first came in that first stint, late first quarter. They've just got the Nuggets on their heels, and I wonder if it's part of the style that they play, the coaching. You mentioned they have Chris Finch. They also have another Nuggets old assistant, Mike Inori, on their staff, so I wonder if they're just ready for what Denver's going to throw at them. But yeah, man, Timberwolves just have their number. It seems like a really rough matchup for them.
Yeah, you talk about them having their number. It also just, they have strengths that the Nuggets really do struggle at. They space the floor, knock down the 3 ball. Denver has a very hard time trying to slow that down and running guys off of it, just especially with them running under picks and just giving up the open 3. But also those rim runner athletic big guys around the rim, they give Jokic issues. They just really do. The athleticism and being able to throw it up there, it puts him in spots that he just is like vulnerable in. And also, he's not like an athletic guy, so he doesn't match them into those things. So Minnesota's just kind of like the Nuggets kryptonite right now. They play up to that competition, and they just answer a lot of things that the Nuggets are trying to figure out. So while these are not good wins, these are not good losses. These are losses that you can learn things in and also try to figure it out.
Yeah, like for me, this game, the starters won the first minutes. The bench got beat down so badly, and it was the construction of the bench that we saw before with the 3 guards, no center. They were so small, so soft. Like this is, I really, really was missing Boogie tonight in that first stint. Like
you could feel it.
You could feel it. Like that bench unit was so hapless, and they were just running around. I was so confused as to why Davon Reed didn't get run until garbage time. Like when I was watching it, it just seemed like Minnesota was just physically bigger than Denver most times.
Yeah, I love this point, but I want to push on the bench for just a second because it's going to be a big story, and there's a lot to unpack there, but I want to stay on this. Over the last 15 games, Minnesota actually has the number 1 offense. If you recall, they got hit with COVID. Towns got hit with COVID. They had a really kind of unlucky break. You asked about their record. This is part of it. They had a really unlucky start, as most teams have, so it's not really an excuse, but over the last 15 games, their offense has been absolutely humming. They've been better than the Phoenix Suns, better than the Nuggets, the Nets, all those other teams. A 117.6 offensive rating in their last 15 games, which is great. Wow. And I really do think, I've talked about this so much, everybody thinks of floor spacing in terms of shooting. Like, you got to get more shooters on the, this or that. I really do think, Karl-Anthony Towns and Jokic, not that different. It's funny, before the game that Michael Malone was asked about the Timberwolves, and he said, we're not that similar. Yeah. People think we are, we're not. I agree. But in a bad way. I actually think this is something we talked about. Denver in the Jokic era every single year has been top 3 in offensive rebounding until this year. All of a sudden now they're an average offensive rebounding team. You look at Jared Vanderbilt tonight. It's so hard to guard a dynamic center with some good pick and roll play and some floor spacers around them when you have that one guy that just has to babysit the rim because there's this dude keeps grabbing offensive rebounds. So to me, it's a lesson I think the Nuggets can actually learn and say, hey, that's actually a key ingredient that might be missing right now.
Yeah, Vanderbilt dominated this game, I felt like, just rebounding the ball. 9 rebounds, 5 offensive rebounds. He was just working the Nuggets' big men inside. Jokic, Aaron Gordon, JaMyke Green, Zeke Nnaji. He dominated those guys on the glass. And I agree. It's weird because rebounding is something that you don't really talk about when you're winning, but when you're losing, it's an obvious area where you're probably not, pulling your weight. And yeah, the Nuggets throughout the Jokic era have been a dominant offensive rebounding team. They're not a good offensive rebounding team this year at all. But Jared Vanderbilt, certainly is. And another thing that struck me about Minnesota tonight, I kind of got some Phoenix Suns vibes with them, where everybody on the Timberwolves roster knows their place, especially in that starting 5. And it's probably why they have one of the, like you said, the best starting 5 in the NBA from an offensive rating standpoint. Towns, Edwards, D'Angelo Russell, when he's healthy, those guys are making things happen. Jared Vanderbilt, he knows he's not touching the ball unless he's in the restricted area
that's his job.
Or on an offensive rebound. And Pat Beverly's there for a kick-out 3. So I just really think everybody on Minnesota kind of knows their role, and they were impressive.
And I know, Eric, one of the things you might be thinking, because I know we were talking downstairs, that Vanderbilt tonight, you look at the plus-minus, he was a 0. You look at some of the other guys, they were plus 20. Clearly, the plus 20 guys, which is the bench guys, that's what won it. But Vanderbilt being a 0 means he more or less canceled out Jokic, which is the big thing. Now, Can Jokic make up, for 24, being outscored by 25? Probably not. That's too much.
No.
But Jokic himself when they were on the court, the Nuggets got beat tonight, and in large part of it, to me, that's why even the starters couldn't get in and sort of stop the bleeding, and that was part of it.
As I saw it, the bench created such a wide chasm,
no question,
that then when the third quarter started, the Nuggets started to play uncharacteristically, and then the starters didn't quite know what they were doing. Right. It was just chaos tonight. They got punched in the mouth and were not expecting it at all, and they just couldn't rebound. And then everything rebound meet in 2 ways. They couldn't rebound as a team. They couldn't figure out how to get back going, and then it just became comical. Taurean Prince and Naz Reid,
they got confidence.
They missed
man.
one shot or two shots between them in the first half. They each scored like an unbelievable amount. It was just like one of those games where you're like, all right, like what are we doing here? Like,
but Dev,
I do wish Jokic had sat. By the way, now
you wish, yeah, like, man, look what happens when Jokic doesn't play, you get murdered. Dev, this 2 games in a row, they've lit the Nets on fire, but also, I mean, they do shoot a lot of threes, but they're making a lot. Is it coincidence Denver run poor, or do you think it is something where it's like, hey, they have a little something figured out that works especially well against Denver?
Yeah, I think that we talk about the Phoenix Suns, and it's always that they don't have those mismatches or they don't have issues with like cross mismatches. I think that there's a lot of them where teams just have advantages if they're knocking down the 3 ball or if they're just spacing the floor in that way. And then also Minnesota is like really unique because they have floor spacers and then they have crashers. So like at the exact same time. So like right now this game was a game that Anthony Edwards didn't even get himself going in. And I think that like even helped them out even more because they weren't just keying in on a guy. Everyone was getting themselves involved. So the rim running really, it changes like a lot of things. You can't like make up for that. The not having a big guy in that second unit really like changed the dynamic of the game because Naz Reid destroyed in that first half. I mean, in that first stint. And then Taurean Prince was knocking down every single three ball. So now they have that going. They space it. And McLaughlin is getting to the lane. So everybody was going at the exact same time, and the Nuggets don't have a counteract for that. So there is something specific about Minnesota in the way that they match up against the Nuggets.
Yeah. 23 of 48 the first time they played, 19 of 45 this time. So, over 43s between 2 matchups.
And it was like all the bench.
Yeah.
Like Dev said, Anthony Edwards made 1 3 tonight.
Yeah,
Carl Towns made 1 3 tonight.
Yeah.
Beverly had 3. He also had 3 in that first meeting, or the last meeting they had. Taurean Prince just was a beast. Malik Beasley, too.
Well, this might be a 2-segment. We could start it right now, but it's going to bleed in because there's a lot to get to. I mean, that was the story. I wanted to lead with the Vanderbilt aspect because to me, when I just think about missing ingredients this year, yes, the shooting, yes, the Murray's play creation, this or that, but just the rebounding. And you wonder, like, Aaron Gordon has been such a good fit in so many ways. But one area that you look at, you think, if he's your 4, is he grabbing offensive rebounds and putting that same pressure? So far, not yet. We'll see if that's a long-term thing that needs to be solved. But the bench tonight's the story. I mean, there's no question about it. Nuggets were good. The Nuggets actually started this game, I thought, a little flat-footed. Like Denver,
they did, but they were ahead.
They still won. They still won their minutes, but there were points left on the board. Like Denver went up 17-10 or something like that.
They turned the ball over 7 times in the first 5 minutes of this game.
I looked at that 17-10, and I think there was like a missed shot, and then the other way they hit a 3 and went 17-13. You're like, man, I feel like Denver should be up 10 points right now. They're only up 4, whatever.
I was positive we were going to be discussing the turnovers as the key story of the game.
Guess how many turnovers they finished with tonight,
Oh, my God. They had like 9 and 11 seconds, so they probably had 20.
No, that's the thing. They only had 12 turnovers tonight. Yep. They didn't turn the ball over after the first quarter.
So they should turn the ball over? That's what they were playing?
No, like they set the tone early where they just took off with the lead after that.
Right. No, they just started missing threes after
that. This
is
a classic. This has happened all year. And then when we were really blaming the bench, early on and trying to figure this, it was about sucking the air out of the room.
When play the blame game?
I'm just saying, when you're up 3 points and then you go to the bench, the second unit comes in, and next thing you know, you're down 15, which is what happened in this one. I mean, it really was like 15 points. Starters came in, they also got smacked. What went wrong with the bench?
Bench construction. It looked like the bench that we had before where we had 2 small guys that were trying to be the big men.
They're so long, by the way. This is one thing that really stands out. Minnesota, you said big earlier. I don't think they're big. They're just so long. McDaniels, Vanderbilt, they have like some wingspans.
Yeah. Every time that somebody on the bench, and then Will Barton too, even when they tried to stagger it, they were like, all right, we can't have all of these 3 bench guards in at once. We'll stagger it with Will. Like, even then, when he was trying to drive the lane, he was just getting erased. It was just like 4 guys swallowing everybody. They blocked a bunch of shots, but the Nuggets they just couldn't hang physically. Like that's what it looked like to me. They just didn't have the right personnel out there.
I mean, Naz Reid dominated for like a 5-minute stretch. End of the first quarter, beginning of the second quarter. And he's a good backup center, but I mean,
I love him.
Naz Reid, he just dominated this game, and I tweeted it out when we were watching. The Nuggets really missed DeMarcus Cousins tonight, and you could feel that. You could just feel that with how the game was going, and a lot of people were coming at me like, oh, they didn't miss DeMarcus Cousins Sunday against Milwaukee when the bench looked great against the Bucks.
A small bench.
That's what I replied. Look, the Bucks play a small ball look on their bench. When you're playing against a traditional backup center, you need DeMarcus Cousins. And you could just really feel that tonight. So it was Naz Reid and it was Taurean Prince hitting shots off of, whatever looks he was helping them get.
So dumb.
Yeah. Also, one team made every single shot. They went like 8 or 9 straight makes. And then on the other end, Bones.
Bryn Forbes was so
Forbes
bad
was horrible. Like, you couldn't make a basket on one side, and the other team was making everything. Also, in that second quarter, there was no turnovers, like, at all. Like Harrison was just said, they only finished with 12. There was no turnovers, but there was also no baskets from one team. So it made it a lot easier for them where they're getting blitzed, and they couldn't stop the bleeding.
I know.
Getting pressure in the paint at all? Because to me, that I've always said, more than anything, it's can you apply pressure on the paint? And I thought even Jokic tonight was kind of perimeter oriented.
Oh my
a lot,
God, man!
In a way that was like, man, what's going on? But that second unit, did you, how do you feel Bones was getting into the paint tonight?
I don't think they did. They just kind of settled for three ball after 3 ball.
Yeah.
And then they're just missing them. And then on the other end, they're getting ran after makes and misses, which was a lot of misses. So now you're like you're on catch up every single time, and you're playing your backs to like the defense. The offense, and then they come up and they just scored. So there was no getting into the lane, and also they were smaller, so it made it harder.
And when they got in the lane, they just got blocked.
Right.
Like
they were a lot of blocks tonight.
Dude, they got every time.
Like.
It was God,
so 9 block shots.
What was interesting that happened with the bench in that first stint, I didn't think Bones was terrible by any means, but the Nuggets weren't like generating good looks. They weren't generating healthy offense with that bench group. And
they love that point downstairs.
Yeah.
They love it.
And Bones got pulled early in that first stint. He only played 6 minutes in the first half. He got the yank pretty early on. Again, I don't think he was that bad, but he turned the ball over once, missed a 3. He just wasn't really taking command of that group, it felt like. But it was kind of hard when they were just missing shots and Minnesota was just running it down Denver's throat on the other end in transition. It was, and then you're taking the ball out of the basket, and it's kind of that never-ending
snowballed,
cycle. Bryn Forbes was also terrible tonight. He got blown by 3 times almost in a row in the first half. Didn't hit a 3 until the game was pretty much decided, I think, in the second half. He was really rough tonight, especially on defense.
I think that was the single worst Nuggets performance I've seen.
He was really bad.
Both offense and defense. He was so bad.
I'm worried about him as a playoff player, honestly, for these reasons, is that, like, he can make shots and win games. Is what happened with Milwaukee last year against Miami. I mean, he helped win that series. So it could be a real positive, but it's also a real liability where it's like, man, I don't... he just can't guard. This isn't a thing where he can have hot defensive games. It's like if you have the wrong matchup or if he's just like being exploited there, that could be an issue. But tonight, I don't think you can pin it on any one guy with that second unit. It was just so bad as a whole, and it was so discouraging to see. More guys on the bench that were discouraging to talk about on the other side. But also maybe some salute. Like I do want to ask the question of, like, are the vibes gone? The Nuggets had a 5-game winning streak. Things are rolling. Is this one of those ones where it's like, all right, blow it up. You got a chance tomorrow. There's quick turnaround. You got a chance to regain the vibes, or is this like air's out of the room now, we got to start over? We'll
find out after the break.
Tell you tease right there.
The Mile High City Copper Lager from Breckenridge Brewery, the official beer of DNVR. It's the beer of Nuggets season. Make sure to pick up some Mile High City Copper Lager from your local liquor store, your local grocery store. If you're over in Littleton, check out the Breck Brew Farmhouse. If you're in the area, drop by the DNVR bar. We've got Breck Brews on tap. We've got Breck Brew Seltzer in the fridge, chilled, ready to be consumed.
I need a seltzer right now.
I could go for one too. So check out all of the great beers from Breckenridge Brewery. Check out the Mile High City Copper Lager because it is Nuggets season, of course. Do you want a job? Ball is hiring still for production technicians. They're looking to fill line capacity at their Golden plant right here in beautiful Golden, Colorado. They're looking for production technicians. It pays $27.39 per hour with potential for increases at 6, 12, and 18 months on the job. Offers exposure to a lot of other manufacturing opportunities at the plant as well. The production technician role touches on other stages of production, making aluminum cans and ends too. If you want more info, jobs.ball.com. Search for Golden or text Golden to 77222.
We have a surprise guest in the house. I don't know if you guys saw. I just we'll see. Maybe she'll come join here in just a little bit.
Sheila Morris?
Not my wife.
Oh,
thank you though.
What?
Back here, segment 2 here. I just had a
I don't
surprise.
know.
I had a surprise message here. I'm like, oh hey. Gonna see if she'll come on the show. Zeke Nnaji tonight. It was garbage time, but he went 3 for 3 from 3, guys. I like this guy. Honestly, he's in. He might be. This is sacrilegious to say. I think he's approaching good PJ territory with me, where I'm like, if he's like shooting it, I'm like, I think that's it.
yeah.
I just think it's in now. Like he's up there with me right there. He also got benched tonight, which is weird because one, he's from Minnesota,
Tough.
so it's like tough man.
look.
You're like you get your family. They were showing the Nnaji family in the house.
You
there to
got your
watch him.
McDonald's All-American sister in the house,
You
too.
got her as well.
Yeah.
So you think like, and then he gets benched. And again, like I don't know that he was the guy that was like, hey man, it's your fault. We gotta get you out of there. He did come back in and made some threes in garbage time. I know we talked about this in the pregame show a while back. I really am ready to see if Zeke Nnaji can handle a play being run for him. Because he's not that guy right now. He's just a floor spacer. Get to your spots. We're running this play, but your job is the space. Can you run him off like a double pin down and see if he can catch it and shoot? And if not, like I trust him just to get the ball back to the point guard.
I think that I have to like adjust my idea of what Zeke Nnaji is. He's clearly a knockdown shooter. Like he's
Automatic.
a shooter. But I think that the Nuggets need him to be a physical big man, and I think that's where I have the issue of trying to see if he belongs or not, because he just kind of just gets pushed around out there and doesn't really protect the paint like as far as like as a big man does. He's a really good on-ball defender and like has a lot of activity. I want him to be a little bit more aggressive, so it's difficult for me to see it in that light. But when he's knocking down, I mean, when he's shooting the ball, I do feel confident in his shots, and I really am ready for the Nuggets to run pin downs for him, for him to come off of like a pick and pop and be ready to shoot, and things like that. I feel like he is progressing, and I want to see him become more of a shooter, because you have to be confident. If you watch Bryn Forbes go in and go 1 for 7 every single game, they're like just having space. They're putting him in spots where he can like try to succeed. He's just not making them. So why not give it to the guy that is knocking down shots?
But Dev, he's not very dynamic, and I think that's part of it. And neither is Bryn Forbes. But that's the thing is, like, if you run him off 2 pin downs and throw him the ball and he's not open or whatever, like there's nothing else for him to do other than to reset. Basically maybe make basic reads, and I think that's maybe part of it.
Yeah, I told you that when our PHNX brethren were here, Saul specifically, who went to Arizona, so he watched Zeke Nnaji's collegiate career. He like talked about how he was a beast, how he was like a rebounder. He was all around the rim, like the exact opposite of what we have come to know Zeke Nnaji's game as. Like he didn't know him as a shooter, because in that system he wasn't allowed to shoot threes. So it's weird. Like he is, like, in my mind, a finesse big guy. And
yeah,
like
I think that's the accurate thing though. Like some guys can dominate at the college level is so
for sure, but it's just wild. Like that was his identity. He called him a beast. Like I would call Zeke Nnaji a lot of things. First off, piano man. Second off, the twine twig tickler. Beast would be like pretty low down.
I'll tell you what's crazy. How can somebody who's that good at piano have such bad hands?
What?
Like, don't you think he'd have good hands?
He fumbled a lot today. Everybody did, though. The ball was clearly covered in grease.
I think finesse fingers, yeah.
He's got the old FS.
Yeah. I mean, Zeke was really rough on the glass
Beethoven,
tonight.
real passionate.
No, he needs to play like, what is that? Great Balls of Fire. Billy whatever.
That can be his next YouTube video. That channel hasn't been updated in a while. But Zeke was really bad on the glass tonight, and with no DeMarcus Cousins, they needed him to rebound the ball more, and he couldn't really do that. He gave up some offensive rebounds, lost a couple defensive rebounds. But I don't think it's any coincidence that he didn't look as good tonight without DeMarcus Cousins. Like, those two are a perfect fit together.
True.
Boogie and Zeke Nnaji. Like, Boogie can roll to the rim. He can bang inside. He can clear space down low. Zeke can go around the perimeter, knock down shots. Like, that is a perfect fit.
Dude,
and
Piano Man and Boogie?
well,
yes.
Think about that.
Well, here's another advantage to if you're using him at coming off of pin downs. One of the values of having a double pin down, they call this in basketball terms a strong pin down, 2 guys setting the screen, is that it's very hard for a chase defender to get around 2 screens without forcing a switch. So a lot of times you can. Now, if that's Zeke Nnaji coming off to, number one, it means a power forward has to chase him.
Yeah.
Power forward's not usually coming off of pin downs like that, although it's a little more common in today's NBA. And if you use DeMarcus Cousins as the second screener, almost always he's the guy that ends up getting the second the second guy. So you can actually, one, hope you can start getting Zeke Nnaji on pin down so he turns and shoots it. It would be really cool to see. But 2, you might be able to get DeMarcus Cousins switched onto a 4 or smaller early off at a possession, and now you run your offensive set from there. So I think it's maybe worth it. The trust issue is the thing with Malone. Like, I mean, this is the same with Bones. It's the same with all of these young players. Like Michael Malone, he's been burned before in the past, guys. Maybe he's been in relationships, Dev, where he's been burned by trust, and it's very difficult.
I'm still super high on Zeke. Like, if he has a center next to him and can play his position, I think he's like the perfect role player to have around Nikola Jokic, man. He's the perfect low usage, high efficiency guy.
Right.
To play off of Jokic. He's versatile defensively. I think he's a great fit in Denver. I'm just really happy with Zeke.
It's funny because defensively, him and Vando very somewhat similar. Like, they're versatile, they can move their feet. Offensively, I swear to God, they're yin and yang. They
also, like, personality-wise,
but really, like, they possess none of the same traits.
Yeah.
No. Like, Vanderbilt, incredibly tenacious. Just plays rebounds like a monster. Just absolutely no touch at all.
Someone call him a beast.
No, someone call him a beast. Zeke, not quite a beast. Incredible touch. Like, they really are a yin and yang there. It's kind of funny.
It's true. I'm creating the perfect emoji to illustrate Piano Man and Boogie together in the chat. I'm sorry, I can't be paying attention. I'm looking for the dance.
I mean, we've all got our priorities.
We do all have our priorities. JMyke Green tonight. So, he's a -8 tonight off of the bench, which isn't the worst. I mean, you got Bones Highland, Austin Rivers, who are way worse. He has 12 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. But as you mentioned, he looked really good against a small lineup. Maybe he's a utility player against teams like that. Tonight, though, wasn't really an impact player.
Yeah, but I like that he's aggressive. Like, that's one thing you are going to get with JMyke. He's not going to back down to those physical teams. Yeah. I feel like Minnesota tries to have their way, with aggression, just trying to get in and be physical with the Nuggets, and JMyke doesn't allow that. So I really likes that he tries in that regard, and even running him with that second unit a little bit more probably could have helped out. Just because you have a guy that's going to try to slow down the bleeding. I don't think that it was a good game.
Wildly unsuccessfully.
JMyke, but I do like that he battles in those ways. And you got to try to find moments that you could play him or games that you could play him. And sometimes it'll work, sometimes it's not.
Yeah, I don't like watching JMyke play anymore.
I don't either.
I'm completely over the JMyke.
Me too,
really.
man.
I would like them very much to trade JMyke.
It's just whenever he's playing ahead of Zeke, you're like, why?
I agree. Because then he shoots a 3, he misses a 3. He shoots a mid-range, he misses it. He gets some garbage. He's a tough guy. You're not lying about that. He's in there. He's fighting for rebounds. He is putting in effort, which was something that you couldn't get from anybody else on the bench tonight. So that did stick out. But the way that bench played tonight, there were 6. I know only 5 play at a time, but 6, 7 guys as they cycled in and out. I was like, I don't like how that guy's playing. I don't like how that guy's playing. I want that guy off the team. And it was just, I don't know.
Pretty funny. I mean, he's most likely to get traded, I think, so that you got there. So let's ask the big question here. We're trying to build the perfect bench. I do think that it's probably very likely one of those things where Malone has 7 guys to pick from on any given night. And that's a tough spot to be in. I think George Karl loves that spot. He had guys like this that were most games he plays 0. Every now and then he'll play 35 minutes. And it's just just talking to him, I think he loves that stuff. Davon Reed comes in tonight. He goes 2 of 3 from the 3-point line.
He came in hot.
He came in hot. He's been on the shelf a little bit. Is there anybody? I mean, is he a guy you'd like to see maybe get a little bit more minutes?
Well, the last spot for me is between him and Austin Rivers. I mean, the bench to me, I feel honestly pretty good about the bench. I think there's a good bench to be constructed. It's when DeMarcus Cousins is healthy. It's him, it's Zeke Nnaji, it's Bones Highland, it's Bryn Forbes, and then it's either Austin Rivers or Davon Reed. Like, that is clearly the bench to me, and honestly, I feel okay with that group.
Okay. Dev, do you have like a preference there? Like Davon Reed need to take somebody's minutes in your opinion?
I hate the bench. No, really. The bench is tough. Like, really, because I feel like you're just trying to buy time for the starters to be out there. I think that you got to have an all-defensive bench that's just going to just try to get through those times. I don't think there's much scoring for it.
Is Dev advocating for more Facu minutes
I think that is Austin Rivers. Like, if I had to go with a guy, I think that's the same bench that Harrison says, and you have to, like, guess if it's Austin Rivers or Davon. I'm going to go with Rivers. He's just like a vet. He's been there. And also, he has his moments where he's really good. Lately, we haven't seen the defense like that.
See, that's the thing tonight. And he got benched tonight, too. And I think that was part of it, is he was out there, and it's like, hey, we need somebody to get a stop. He wasn't getting them either.
And he used to be that guy.
Right.
So, like, he has to get back to that. And, I think it's not a coincidence that it's came with the success of him on offense where he's starting to get himself going. But the defense is what's going to play him. That's the reason that he's on the team. Like, I feel like he has to be a little bit, better on that side of the floor. But I would go with Rivers.
Yeah, probably. I mean, but interchangeable. Like, you shouldn't. The bench is such that you shouldn't have like a set 5 for your bench. Like your bench should be wholly matchup specific, but it should be Boogie and Zeke and Bones and Bryn, since we traded for him, and he was so bad tonight, but he was good last game, so I'm going to remember that Bryn and forget this Bryn, and then either Davon or...
What's crazy, though, is that Boogie Cousins is an integral piece to the Nuggets bench.
I know.
Like,
it's so sad.
It really feels like the bench is kind of like riding on if he plays well or if he plays. Maybe
plays,
just
yeah.
even if he plays, if he's out there for 15 minutes. And like I said in the pregame show, it's a little worrisome that he's... there's some durability concerns with him because, like, we've seen that he can totally change the dynamic in the feel of that group when he's out there and playing. So it's a big storyline. A guy on a 10-day contract could potentially be the key, or maybe is the key to the Nuggets.
Is there
bench.
anything more Nug life than Boogie Cousins?
Our fate is in his hands.
Rising on Boogie Cousins.
Michael Malone had a comment a couple games ago, man, where Michael Malone said a couple games ago, like, we need DeMarcus. Like, we need this guy. And I'm sitting here tonight, and I'm thinking, yeah, they do.
They need Boogie.
Do you think
Which is crazy.
Do you think it's DeMarcus Cousins they need, or do you think they just need a viable
the presence
center?
of a big,
Same thing.
I honestly think it's the second one.
Well, it is, but that's what we have.
I don't know who else that is.
I'm just saying, if you made a trade for like a Robin Lopez or something like that, to me it would be a major. It would be even an upgrade because
Robin Lopez, I can't dribble though.
It feels
Do you
like
need
it
that?
could just be anybody.
I feel like that's kind of some of the value that Boogie brought.
Can we get just a big log or something, like just like a large object that we could just put in the middle?
Can we get Costa Coop? Yeah.
I mean, like an actual log.
Probably like
you know
a
what?
Russian.
Piece of wood.
I actually am serious about this one thing. It is the two positions in the NBA that most get cycled through. Point guards, I've talked about this. It takes a long time to develop, so there just ends up not being very many of them. And then it is centers, too, where it's like there's serviceable centers that get pushed out of the league for no reason other than everyone's trying to find the next center or, this or that, or play small. There are just so many reasons to not stick with a semi-washed veteran that could just be your backup. Like Marcus Gasol.
The unicorns have ruined it for the lunch pailers.
We're always looking for unicorns. Like, we can just get a guy that can go out there and just rebound.
What's his 3-point percentage? Like zero. Shoot the goddamn thing. He's a big log.
Yeah, that's all he does, man. Come on now. Let's go back to the starting lineup here because there's some stuff in here tonight. I will say, Aaron Gordon tonight, man. I don't know what got into him.
The weed in
what got
Minnesota
out of
sucks, apparently.
What got out of him? He has these games, man. He's so. It's hard to complain because he's been so great. We've raved about him all year, but there are some nights where you're like, just go bang with these guys, man. Go inside, go do something, be aggressive, and he just wasn't tonight. 0 for 4 from the 3-point line, only took 9 shots. Went 3 of 9 at 7 points. Got some cardio in.
There's good games, there are bad games, and then there's these type of games. This was a horrible game for Aaron Gordon, and I really thought that he'll be up for this type of challenge. Like, it's guys that are. As athletic as him and do a lot of the things that he does. He's the one guy on the Nuggets team that I feel like can match, their athleticism. Like he just can't. And also he wants to like bang with guys down there. He wants to be involved, and he wasn't in this game. And also, like, I mean, I've been saying it for a while. I just don't think that he's engaged defensively anymore. And now the offense, like, is starting to, like, go away. He went 0 for 4 from 3 and just kept shooting. I mean, he kind of forced most of the shots up and just kind of didn't feel like he was part of the offense. Like, really, I don't want to be hard on him because he really has been playing,
he's been playing
really well lately.
Really well,
he's been playing really good. But this was not a good game for him, like, at all. And it's also not a coincidence that the Nuggets played really poorly in the game that he didn't play well.
That's a good point. I just remembered earlier when I said the Nuggets were up 17-10 and it looked like they were going to put them away. I remember the sequence now. Will Barton, back-to-back three-pointers. Rolling. Man. Within the flow of the offense. It comes down and just, like, pulls up a three from the top of the key in transition. Like, nope. Like, a total, you got a great three off of a great offensive process. You get another three off a great offensive process. It's like, I'm on fire, rather than we have a rhythm going. And it was a classic one of those Barton ones. And you look at it tonight, he went 4 of 11. He had 13 points on 11 shots, which is not that great given how hot he was. But it's one of those things where it's like, when the Nuggets are rolling, especially early, trust that your offensive process is the reason you're getting there.
Yeah.
It's better when everyone feasts than when one guy feasts.
Yeah, I mean, if you take out Will Barton's first quarter from most of these games, he's usually doing nothing over the rest of the game.
But to be fair, his first quarters have been fantastic, like scorching
they've been
hot.
great, and it's been a reason why the Nuggets have been a great first quarter team. But he just doesn't really have an impact a lot of the times after that, and that play that you mentioned, man, like it was, and
it was a tide turner a little bit. I thought the Nuggets were about to go up 15.
Will Barton has one of these once a game where he has a sequence where you're like, wow, Will Barton, he's exactly what the Nuggets need to complement the Jokic Murray 2-man game. Yeah. And then he has another sequence right after that where you're like, wow, I can actually see why everybody hates this dude.
No one is more committed to feeding their haters.
Exactly. You think it's on purpose, maybe.
He's like wants to make sure everyone is fed. The people that support him, the people that hate him. We all have arguments. It's fantastic. Thank you, Will.
I don't really have tons of notes on Jeff Green and Monte Morris.
I don't think Jeff Green, did he play? Or
he went 4 of 8 tonight, 12 points.
No, did he play? Was he in the game?
22 minutes.
Was Monte Morris in the game? Did he play? This game was a stupid game. I hate this game. Can we talk about something? The Avalanche game is pretty good. Let's talk about that game.
Let's hit a break. On the other side, we'll hit our super chats if we have any. I don't know. I'll tell you what. In the chat right now, we have 335 people. You guys know what you guys are?
The diehards,
the real sickos, ones,
the real ones, our people.
Nuggets lose by 20, and you're like, you know what? Let's talk about it. Yeah. I love that, man. I love these ones. I love you guys the most.
Us or them?
Them.
Oh, okay.
I was going to say that's.
What are you talking about?
Even though you're not looking at them, you're looking at Harrison when you said that. There's no way you
we locked eyes
Harrison.
at that moment. Thought we had something.
I'll tell you what. We should have known today was going to suck when it started snowing.
I did know.
We live in Colorado, too.
You were questioning our vibes in the pregame show.
You know what tomorrow is?
Those were premonition vibes.
You know what tomorrow is, Dev? Snow day.
Oh,
Snow day.
I can't believe it.
Dude, it's just thinking about it. My kids are going to be running around the house while I'm trying to work.
Guys, the moment we've been waiting for since September is finally here. In honor of the big game, DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 56, is giving new customers 56-1 odds on either team. Bet $5, get $280 in free bets if your team wins. Not a new customer, you can still experience Super Bowl 56 with the same game parlays. So make sure to download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code DNVR, get 56-1 odds on either team. Bet just $5, get $280 in free bets if your team wins. It's promo code DNVR at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 56. Must be 21 or older, Colorado only, new customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700.
Quickly, you know what I find so confusing about that ad?
That
read is that it starts off like all other reads around this time of year, talking about the big game. Yeah. And later on, they just start talking about the Super Bowl.
The big game is the funniest thing.
That's what I mean. The big game is when you have to refer to it as the big game if you're not Pepsi or McDonald's or whatever.
I don't know. I don't write the ads. I know I just read them.
Well, you bring them to life. I'll say that.
Sexy pizza. That would make this Nuggets loss feel a little less worse. Sexy pizza. They've got a deal going on for the Super Bowl. I'm seeing here.
What? Sexy Pizza's not scared.
I don't know if I was supposed to say the Super Bowl there.
Did Sexy Pizza's get... Well, whatever.
They've got a great deal going on for the big game.
The big game!
You can get 2 16-inch pizzas for $29.99 when you order online using the promo code Sexy Super Bowl.
Man,
so go
I'll
to
take a sexy Super Bowl.
sexy.pizza. This is a great deal. 2 16-inch pizzas for $30 when you use the promo code Sexy Super Bowl. All one word. Type that promo code in there. 2 16-inch pizzas for $30. Go to sexy.pizza to order. You can also stop into one of their locations. They're all over the Denver area. They're in the Highlands. They're on Pearl Street.
Ooh, they're at the Super Bowl.
All the way throughout Denver.
If anyone is planning on having a sexy Super Bowl party, please invite me. Please invite
why
me.
would you be invited?
Yeah,
to
you wouldn't be invited.
anything
That's the whole
sexy?
point.
Oh, just with pizza.
Oh,
The pizza part.
I realized I would cancel out the sexy part if it was the other
that makes
definition.
sense. Yeah, you carry the one.
Excited for the big game. I'm going to be watching the big game here at the DNVR Bar. Very excited for it.
Ooh.
Do we
Big
want to
game.
talk about Jokic's night at all, or no?
Did we
We're
not?
Moving past that.
Why don't we first hit our DraftKings Sportsbook's King of the Game first, and we'll see who that's about. Oh, it is Nikola Jokic. 21 points, 16 rebounds, assists. Can I say something? This is going to be sacrilegious. You guys know I love Jokic. This was a B- Jokic game, in my opinion.
I'm going to say this is a bad Jokic game.
Well, it wasn't bad. He had 21, 16, and 8.
I don't know,
although
man.
some of that came late. So a lot of those rebounds came late where we're like, what's he doing in there? They're down 25. I kind of felt like at a certain point he was gunning for a triple-double.
Here's what pissed me off about Jokic's game tonight. The stretch in the second quarter when the starters came back in.
Yeah.
And the bench had already lost the lead, lost the game maybe. The starters come back in, and Jokic is just floating around the perimeter for the rest of the second quarter. I think he got one post up in that span. And it's okay, one of two things needs to happen here. Michael Malone needs to call a play for Jokic to get his ass on the block.
Right.
Or Jokic needs to call his own number and get his ass on the block. He just looks so complicit standing around the three-point line, just letting Minnesota, just let him be there. It was just frustrating.
Dev, why does he spend some games out on the perimeter like that?
I think that is the adapting, especially with Minnesota. They play him with a one-on-one coverage, and he's not. I don't think he's used to that. So when he sees it, I think that he's just I'm going to beat him in different ways, or he overthinks it because he hasn't seen it in such a long time. Or I just think that he just feels like he's just so much better that he's not going to do it. I just wish that he was more aggressive in those type of games where he just says, "Okay, I'm not going to score. I'm not going to pass. I'm just going to score." In those, you just talked about he had one post up in that quarter. Did he score on it?
He scored the easiest bucket of the game on it.
Exactly. So why not go into it? Rinse, repeat. That. Everyone else in the league that's really their scores, they want to do that every single time because they're gonna score. They're gonna be successful. The team's gonna win the game. He just wants to be involved in so many different ways, and he is involved with the Nuggets in so many different ways that I don't think they do the rinse and repeat like they should. So
sure.
I don't think that it was I really don't think it was a good Jokic game. It was just him sleepwalking into another just decent game where he's still, one of the best players.
Yeah. I mean, don't forget he was on the injury report. Maybe his toe was hurting him. I don't know. But Jokic just has a killer toggle switch.
Yeah.
And it just never got flicked tonight. He just was
It never did, yeah.
He just never, I think that with Jokic, you always have to kind of look at all right, was he frustrated with everybody else around him? Probably. I certainly was. Did it feel like it was too far gone when he got back in? So it was sort of all right, let's kind of get through this. I'm not going to give too much because this is sort of a lost cause. He's just a really intriguing. His psychology is so goddamn interesting.
Yeah, but at the same time, I don't feel like I know it. I feel like I can analyze people, work people out.
That's what I mean. That's why it's so interesting. You don't quite know what makes this guy tick. You think that at a certain point something happens and he's just a different guy now. He has a different motivation or whatever. And then other times, not so much.
Yeah.
Just switches.
The final thing I've got on this though is maybe his toe was hurting. Maybe he's a little tired. Look, this has been a brutal stretch for Denver, and they started this road trip 4-0. Like,
Oh, yeah, of course.
it's okay that they lost this game.
Of course.
It's okay.
I mean, that's the main point here is that fuck this game forever. Like, we'll never talk about this game again. It sucks. We just won. We were just on a streak. This is NBA basketball, baby.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's hit some super chats. I hear we have like one or two.
Oh, hell yeah. The ultra sickos.
Christian says Nugs need a
Consolidation.
consolidation trade. Too many small guards and power forwards. Need to get a quality wing defender. Minnesota.
Have nothing but long athletic wings.
Yeah. Look, I think they do, just in that they have some players like we talked about. JMyke Green, maybe a little redundant there. So, yeah, I mean, I agree they could probably use one. The whole thing is, though, guys, I just think you have to set your bar a little bit low. Here's their real trade they need, guys. They need to find a way to get Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr.
What do we have to give up?
You just got to give up time. He's got to give up
And
about
Robert Covington.
another 5 months of your life, and then they're back, hopefully. Yeah. So, I like the guys that when we talk about like what you're going to trade JMyke, what are you going to get? You're going to get the JMyke of wings, and it's not going to be that cool. So.
F Mike.
Wow. We're all having off nights. It's okay. Jesse says, can anyone remember the post-game lounge featuring the human versus animal chat?
Yeah, hell yeah.
The vibes. T-Wolves have our number. Every nugget is good. New Zealand love.
He's so right. We should be that's what we should be talking
that?
about. Yeah. We were talking about.
You guys were
drunk. We were drunk probably. But we were talking and it came out that disturbing number of adult men think that they could
That was an off-season. That wasn't a loser's lounge. That was an off-season show.
Off-season.
All the same.
Yeah, I love that one.
And a disturbing number of adult men think that they could beat a grizzly bear in wrestling match.
Oh, yeah. There was some really dumb takes, man.
Then I probably talked about how there used to be that show like Man vs. Beast.
Yeah.
And it was Justin Gatlin who tried to race a giraffe, I think, and just got torched.
Whoa, no. We talked about you clearly weren't on this. We talked about this. It was a zebra, and one of the keys to the breakdown of they set it up, man versus animal, man versus beast, and in the chyron at the bottom it said what the zebra needs to do to win the race is number one, realize it's a race.
Yeah. There was a Olympic sprinter racing a giraffe today. And the giraffe got out of the gates really rough. It like stumbled, but then it picked it up.
Now this is a basketball conversation.
This is what the people wanted. All right, what else we got? David Walker says, I think Denver needs to find more minutes for Davon Reed.
No doubt.
Should he be playing over Forbes or Rivers? Look, man, here's the thing is you traded for Forbes, so I know they're going to give him some runway here, and rightfully so. I mean, like, look, see if he can make some threes.
Forbes
see if
was
that
really
works.
good last game. He was just so bad today.
Rivers won a playoff series for you, and he's been good recently. Like, I understand the predicament Malone's in. I really do, man. I understand it. I like Davon Reed. I would like to see him as well, but I don't think it's a solution to anything. Johnny, our homie, says, hippo character falling to the ground in a dramatic way, bursting into tears with the words, epic fail in the background.
Dude,
hell yeah.
John, no one gets to the core of us and the Nuggets like Johnny.
Man, he gets it so well. Do you guys like pear or exploding pear, or do you like hippo character? Those are like the two staples.
Listen, I'm a hippo man.
Really? You're a hippo man.
I love King Hippo in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. I love hippo character crying and falling and saying
about
epic fail.
Hungry?
You just made like three references that did not register with me.
Really? Wow.
King Hippo?
King Hippo from Mike Tyson's Punch-Out?
Never played it.
What about
Are you kidding? Well, man, this is crazy because like there are certain things that we're like, yeah, we're old. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, honestly, a top 5 video game ever made.
I grew up in like the Fight Night era.
If you go to the one-up right down the way, they have a mural with King Hippo as the centerpiece. Because
Really?
he is such an integral piece of video game design caricature.
You punch him in the gut and his pants fall down and he has to pick them up, and then that's how you get him.
I have a shirt with King. I have a shirt with King Hippo on it, and more times than not, I've worn it, and people were like, "Oh, it's like you," and I was offended. All right.
Also, horribly racist game. Actually, very offensive. Oh wow, Eric snuck out. Look at this. Wow,
that was the quickest I've ever seen Eric move.
Oh my goodness, Eric beat Dev. Dev is stunned. You know what though, Dev? You don't no
Dev,
school
what's up,
tomorrow,
man?
Snow day.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Play some video games. All right.
Are we gaming tomorrow?
Are we gaming?
You already know, bro.
Oh, you
You
know
already
we're
know.
doing it. All right, take us into that post-game commentary. How was it enthralling?
Quick one. Malone was of two minds about tonight, guys. And obviously there's a part of Malone, a coach, part of him deep inside of him, he'll never be able to turn off. And as you can imagine, that part of him less than thrilled tonight with the effort and the execution. But he caught himself several times, I thought made a real concerted effort to keep perspective on how they've played of late, right? 10 of their last 14, we all know, but also just the way they've started this road trip. So he had plenty to say, but made sure to catch himself and point out, look, they are playing well. And he shared with us his message to the team, which is, we don't expect you guys to be perfect. We did not expect you guys to win every game for the rest of the season. So tonight wasn't good enough, but we got to regroup, get back to the drawing board, and get back to our brand of basketball. And obviously, guys, they've got a chance to do that tomorrow.
That is a quick turnaround, man.
He agreed that game was lost in the second quarter. Obviously, their bench dominated our bench in that first half. And that's 2 games in a row now, he said, where you have to give the Wolves credit. They've out-hustled the Nuggets. They've been more physical. They've gotten after it.
They definitely, like, you remember when the Nuggets were in this stage, when they're, like, on the come-up, how, like, you treat these divisional games like they mean so much, and you're like, I can't wait to make a statement against them. And now you're on the other side of that, where this was just, like, a game. Right. You wanted to win it, but you're right. They definitely have more pride in this game than Denver did. And it's kind of blows.
Towns went at Jokic tonight.
Always does. Always does.
Went at him in the post a little bit, but I thought more so just on the perimeter, just like trying to drive it right into his chest.
Towns plays Jokic well. It's really, Jokic has run away from that comparison on the aggregate, but the head-to-heads are. Yeah. I mean, Towns gets his. All right, move along. He was asked about Vanderbilt and if he thinks Vanderbilt was really bringing something extra because it's the Nuggets, and he said Vando plays like that every night. That's just always how he's played, and that's what he does for them every night. And reminded us that Vando's fighting for a contract too. So
he's gonna get one.
He's gonna get one.
He's on like one of the best deals in the NBA.
Yeah.
So yeah, Malone, I think fighting his urge to criticize every ounce of that game while also keeping perspective. But I thought ultimately he did keep it.
I'll tell you this. I think the Nuggets, maybe they'll start to take this game more seriously now that they've lost. Look, the Nuggets won like 13 in a row against them. So this has kind of been upside. Now they've gotten blown out 2 games in a row. And I am curious to see when they play again if there's a little bit more of a, hey, we got to show them they don't have our number. Like, we got to put them down a little bit. But I will say, I think Michael Malone, he looks over there at Chris Finch, Mike Nori, and I think for him, he's like, come on, guys. He's like, a big one tonight.
Are you guys effing kidding me?
Hey, let's get humped up, huh, guys? Team on 3, huh?
Spoke with Zeke, talked about how last year he learned to have a short memory in the NBA, just seeing how guys bounce back, never getting too high, too low, and that's something he's carried with him. He was asked...
I feel like Zeke, definitely never gets too high.
No. Nope. He was asked about the difference in his approach, if he's out there as the 5 with 3 guards or the 4, and he gave a detailed answer just to sum it up. Some of the notes I got down here, he said if he's the 5... the crux of it is he's just going to set more screens, just try to get guys involved that way as much as he can through screen and roll or screen and pop. And then if he's the 4, you'll see him out more on the wing, obviously ready for that shot, trying to cut more flare screens, a slightly different approach, he said. He thinks the Nuggets need to have way more movement on offense. I think particularly that second unit. It does break down into a lot of one-on-one sometimes, a lot of standing and watching.
We had the old pick and pop going there for a while. I was like, pick and pop, pick and pop, pick and pop.
With JMyke.
Yeah, you're like, well. Yeah.
I'm going to see that in my dreams tonight, just one pick and pop after another.
Do you guys see JMyke Green, like, raise up for an above the break 3 and just go, ugh?
His shot, man, like, he puts his whole body into every single 3 that he takes. I feel like he starts super crouched down low and then just like full extension.
And he rims out every time.
Yeah, and everyone misses.
And then he did say it was nice to see family, obviously, although tonight, not exactly what he had in mind. Yeah. Jokic basically just said, look, we can't do anything about this one now. It's done. They lost, and there's another game tomorrow, so don't think about it. Tomorrow's another chance. He said Vanderbilt's playing great for them, and that's what he's done for them since he got there. He was asked once again about being a vocal cheerleader, particularly in the fourth quarter, specifically for Zeke Nnaji, who hit a 3, and Jokic was up and off the bench. Jokic. He said, I just tried to cheer the guys. They won the quarter. It was good that we won at least one quarter. The most on-brand quote of the night from Jokic, he was asked to just sort of reflect on where Denver's at right now. Where's the team at? We are 6 games above 500. Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? I don't know.
I mean, it's so true. I think it's a good thing, but what do I know? I'm not the MVP.
I think we are in a good spot, but we could be even better.
True.
Yeah.
That's true.
And then he was asked if Minnesota did anything differently defensively tonight to make his life hard. He only took, I think, 16 shots tonight. And then he said, last game I took like 8, or was it 7, or was it 9? I'm just trying to play the game the right way. Did they do something different? I don't know. I did have 5 turnovers. I have to do a better job as the leader or whatever. I cannot have every night the most turnovers. I've got to do a better job of that. A couple of them were just good reads from them. A couple were just bad passes. And then one was that bad communication with Bryn Forbes. He said a couple more things. He said that is what they do, Minnesota's defense. They do turn you over, but I think we could have controlled a couple of those. So, yeah. I think the Nuggets were really – I don't think they've lost sight of that it's 4-1, right?
Right.
As bad as this loss was tonight, it's just 1, and they've got another chance to get one back tomorrow. That was definitely the vibe.
This Utah game maybe carries a little bit more urgency. You go 5-1 on this trip, we're going to feel great. You go 4-2. You feel good, I still think, overall, but it's like one of those things where you're like,
6-0, 4-0,
awesome. And you had it right there. Anyway, that does it for us today, guys. Don't forget, tomorrow, if you're watching this, I'm so excited. Tomorrow at 11:30, I'm going to be on live on the Keeping It 1000 podcast right here on the YouTube channel with none other than the Professor Andre Miller, one of my all-time favorite Denver Nuggets. And I'm telling you, George Karl keeps it real. Andre Miller keeps it. I don't know if you've ever heard him talk. That guy doesn't sugarcoat things.
Yeah.
That guy tells it like it is, and I can't wait to hear him talk about the mellow years. He was, of course, in Denver from 2003 to 2006. I want to hear him talk about the post-mellow years. He was here from 2011 to 2014. So I want to hear all about that. Even the Brian Shire, I can't wait to ask him about what it was like going from there. He gets traded very quickly after that. And then, of course, one of the things I always get curious about when I talk to super high Q, great passers, what do they think of Nikola Jokic, as well as Bones Highland, Jamal Murray, and
That's
the rest of the company?
11:30 tomorrow.
11:30 tomorrow. It's going to be a banger, absolute banger, guys. Andre Miller and George Karl along with me tomorrow. We'll see you guys then.